GearNetwork.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe it's a big challenge for our building to keep things in perspective and to, if we're going to get addicted to anything, let's get addicted to the process.
And with that, we welcome you to Trust the Podcast, powered by Better Live Than Dead and the Gear Radio Network. This is episode 140.
Episode 140, Baby Chickens.
Yeah, before we get too crazy here, it's the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets. You can hear us on BetterLiveThanDead.com, GearNetwork.com, wherever else you listen to the podcast. As always, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well to stay up to date on the latest podcasts. I am Ryan Wolfe, joined by John Cimino. John, it is the night before Thanksgiving. I don't know if there's a special word for that, but we can just call it. I was going to say we can just call it Tuesday.
Yeah, we can call it Tuesday. That works too. After the way that the Jets played this past Sunday, I certainly would see them next Tuesday, if you get my drift.
Yeah, I pick up what you're putting down there. In Buffalo, man, in our rundown here, they got their swagger back with a convincing 32-6 victory over the New York Jets. Now, John, I know you've been waiting for this moment to say, pump the brakes, chill out. It's only one game. And I'm right here to say the same thing with you as well. It is the New York Jets. No offense meant there. The Buffalo Bills scored the most points against this very stout New York Jets defense that they've allowed all season. The Jets offense, as we expected, was about as toothless as a West Virginia grandmother.
It was unbelievable just even to watch that game, not even as a Jets fan, but as a football fan. That game set you back so many years. Like, well, it wasn't fair. Like,
the thing about the Jets offense is they had a little swagger, and I know I've used that word twice now, so I'm hitting up my limit on the swagger usage here. But they had a little something going after Aaron Rodgers went out. A little positive vibes. Things were heading in the right direction, and then the wheels. Yes, yeah. Then the wheels. Then a couple bolts fell off. Then a wheel went flat, then a headlight went out. And now at this point, I mean, John, we talked about it before the game, and even now they lost another offensive lineman. That offensive line is, I mean, Zach Wilson is not doing himself any favors, but on the flip side, that Jets offense is not doing anybody any favors.
Yeah. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not coming back at all. I was so annoyed because literally I must be the only Jets fan that my Bills contingency knows, because I inundated with messages, yeah, whatever. And it's like, yeah, okay, double birds to you, pal. But
I mean, there's a reason why I'm not surprised here. It's because I know we've talked about when we started the season, John, with the Trust Podcast, it was a lot of, well, we expect the Bills to do this, we expect the Bills to do that. But now that we've broken it down to just a game by game, like, yeah, they should win, but we're no longer saying that. We're just going, okay, going
right.
Into the game,
yes,
this is what it is. And after the game, I'm looking at it and going, that's what I expected to happen.
Right. Well, that's what we expected to happen with the New York Jets for sure. Now, though, going to next week, obviously, we'll touch upon that a little bit later on against the Eagles. That's going to be a much that's going to be a bigger test for that Jets the Bills defense there. But the Jets offensive woes just continued again through the game. I mean, Zach Wilson was 7 of 15 for 81 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. He got the 1 tutty over to Breece Hall. But still, like, that was the first touchdown in 3 games, and it wasn't nearly enough to help bolster that team or help give that defense enough to shut the Bills down. I don't think the Bills came into this game, fighting for their new OC and all that. I think they kind of fell into, They fell into a good situation, a good week to fire, Ken Dorsey and replace him with Joe. Oh my God, I'm brain farting with his name, but you know who I'm talking about, the new OC, Joe Brady. That's it. Yes. They picked a good week to do that. Hopefully, this gives the Bills the momentum they need, though, to go to Philadelphia and face a much tougher team that also wears green and white.
Well, here's a fun one for you. Heading into Sunday's game, I saw this prior to the game on Sunday afternoon. NFL.com's Greg Rosenthal pointed out, quote, Buffalo is the first NFL team since the 1981 Atlanta Falcons to have not have a record above 500 after 10 games with a point differential of at least plus 75. Wow. So again, they are an incredible team, but at some point in time, much like I guess the really only example I have, which is apples to oranges, is kind of like John Tortorella in the National Hockey League. Okay. He comes in, he does very well. The message gets stale. You gotta change it up. It almost seems to me now. Granted, it happened pretty quick in Buffalo with Ken Dorsey, but I mean, if again, there's a lot of football left to be played. If I were a betting man right now, taking a shot in the dark and projecting the rest of this season, I would probably say that Sean McDermott is going to survive solely based on the fact that the defense has had some sort of positive resurgence, despite the fact that they're playing guys who either were not on the team at the start of the season or guys who were not even on the NFL roster to start the season. So I think he might get a bit of a reprieve there, but then again, I'm sure he will. They're paying him enough.
Didn't they re-sign him recently? Didn't they re-sign him recently though? So they would be. The one thing we've seen on the hockey side of things with the Pagulas is that they don't care to pay people who are not here. But then again, I also believe that if you're going to get rid of, and I'll just mention it here, Sean McDermott on Sunday recorded his 68th victory as a head coach with the Buffalo Bills, tying Lou Saban for second place all time in franchise history. I want him to win next week.
Yeah, Marv Levy is the all-time leader with 112 victories, as most people would expect. So it's a situation where obviously, and we talked about this a lot last week, so I don't want to, relight the fire here, but Sean McDermott has been successful in Buffalo. But at what point in time are you stepping back and saying, okay, so they're good, but is this as good as they can be? Was the best that they could be 13 seconds against the Chiefs? Do they need to change the message, or is this something that they can tweak a little and get better going forward?
Well, I feel it's kind of like it's almost getting to the point where it's like the Marty Schottenheimer, where Marty Schottenheimer played Marty ball, did very well wherever he stopped, but it always ended up getting cut short somewhere. He was good as the Broncos head coach. He took the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl and lost. Was doing pretty good with the Washington football team, and then over to the then San Diego Chargers, and they were getting to the playoffs, AFC Championship, stuff like that, but they couldn't quite get past that hump, like that playoff hump. Yep. And I'm wondering if this may be the new version of Marty Schottenheimer. Now, I say this in spite of everything that we talked about last week. Again, to your point with the Pagulas, I don't think that they're going to pull a Mark Davis and pay 6,000 coaches because they sign him to 10-year deals and then release him after 2 kind of thing, like he's doing with both Gruden and
racism.
Josh McDaniels.
Racism and stupidity and sexism will do that to you.
Though. Well, yes, but
we talked about in the past, though, with Mark Davis, this man cuts his own hair.
He does. I can't see them letting McDermott go after this season, but I will say this. If next season, unless there's a catastrophic downfall from here on out, and the next 3 games are going to be very, very telling for the Buffalo Bills. But if there's a catastrophic, epic, failure, and they lose out the rest of the season, that I could see them, letting McDermott go then. But I think to your point, he does get another year with a full offseason with perhaps Joe Brady and go and give that the shot. But I'm beginning to feel, and I still feel, even though they won pretty big against the Jets, I still feel like perhaps the message of the process might be getting to the point where it's getting stale in Buffalo.
I mean, defensively, they played fantastic. Like I said, they're doing as much as they possibly can with everything that they have. Offensively, it just seemed like there needed to be a change in the message, the way that it's being delivered. It was the first time in 7 weeks, John, on Sunday that Buffalo had scored 25 plus points. So despite the fact that they were a top offense in the league, they were simply not scoring points at the clip that they're used to. I mean, not even just this year, the past few years. And their point differential now is at a plus 104, which is fourth best in the league behind Dallas, Baltimore, and San Francisco. A fun stat too, their home cooking, they improved to 12-1 in division games at Highmark Stadium since 2020, including the playoffs. In those games, Buffalo has posted a plus 181 point margin. So in a day and age where home field advantage doesn't feel like a lot, Buffalo's home field advantage is a real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And just, I want to jump over to the three big things, but continue to obviously talk about what we were talking about previously. So before we jump back in here, your three big things are brought to you by PuckLuck.com, your one-stop resource for all your National Hockey League sports betting action. PuckLuck provides win percentages and score projections for each and every National Hockey League game to tilt the ice in your favor. Not sure what to bet or just in a rut? Not to worry. PuckLuck also provides expert picks to get the puck bouncing your way. Please note, PuckLuck.com is no way affiliated with the National Hockey League, its teams, or the NHLPA. PuckLuck.com provides data related to gambling and cannot guarantee the success of any suggested or related wagers. As always, please gamble responsibly. Now, John, Ritalin will allow you to read that sentence much like it's in double speed, but I was really talking that fast. So,
yes, you are.
And now we bring it right back down to normal speed. Wrapping up the offense here, man. Josh Allen looked like Josh Allen. And there was a video clip going around the internet of him on the sideline saying, quote, "I feel like I'm fucking back." And if that doesn't make you want to run through a wall, I don't know what does. But John, it's the small—
well, he's gonna need to be back because that Eagles defense, they're no joke. But they're 8-1 for a reason.
I agree, and we saw it on Monday Night Football.
Or 9-1 now. Arguably should be 10-0.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because you look at the Chiefs right now, and I'm just gonna go. I just got to put this out there quickly to get it out of my head. You look at the Chiefs right now. They are Buffalo light. The first half of games, crushing it. They are one of the, I think they're second in points per game in the first half of a game. Second half of the game, they're like 28th or 29th, if I'm not mistaken. So essentially, they just fall off a cliff. That's exactly what happened on Monday Night Football. Now, granted,
absolutely.
Don't take credit away from the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense kept that Eagles offense in the game, allowed them to cook when they needed to because that Eagles offense was struggling. But again, good teams are able to do that, and teams like Buffalo is going to need to be able to do that these next few weeks against the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys. Right. But wrapping up the offense, again,
Dude,
I want to point out.
I just realized something.
What's that?
Zach Wilson is the only quarterback that has beaten the Eagles this season.
It's incredible.
That's crazy. And now he's down to the third string by Black Friday. But
now he's got a lot more time to look for hot moms. So, that's what that's what he loves to do.
If he's got to be good at something, it's probably not the worst thing to be.
Third string quarterback, first string MILF hunter. Anyways,
attaboy.
Dan Orlovsky pointed out on Twitter. It was brought onto Twitter by Chris Trapazzo. These are the subtle differences. Thank you for fixing the note here, John. I see that I have a spelling error and you're fixing it as we speak. I appreciate you.
Yes.
That's a good co-producer right there.
It was bugging me. It was jumping out of his body.
Look at when I write the podcast now, I make sure that my grammar is correct because I know it will bother you, and I'm trying to make sure I don't do that.
That's all good.
The things you do for each other here.
I appreciate it.
So again, it's the small subtle changes. Josh Allen, 20 for 32, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was on a Hail Mary, whatever. 5 carries for 15 yards. But the Buffalo Bills motioned on 62.9% of their dropbacks versus the Jets on week 11. We've talked about that pre-snap motion that confuses the defenses, that allows to kind of give you a little more time to make those quick adjustments, or, hey, this may open something up, or whatever the situation may be. It's the most in a game for Buffalo since week 9 of 2019 and the second highest rate in the Josh Allen era. So again, maybe it's just that subtle difference there, that small little thing that allows Josh Allen to cook at a bit of a higher temperature. Now, it's funny too, because when you look into the statistics, Josh Allen turns the ball over a lot. That is correct. Does. When you look at the interceptions, though, in the I can't remember what the name of the stat is, or like how you look at it, but in terms of the interceptions he has, they're not bad interceptions. It's not like he's throwing up a duck and getting picked off. I'm trying to go for a Hail Mary. So like the arm punts or stuff where it's, I think it's like high efficiency or something like that. I'll have to look it up and get back to you and let you know. But
All right.
Josh Allen has now tallied 206 career offensive touchdowns, 160 passing, 45 rushing, 1 receiving. Don't get that twisted. Setting a new NFL record for most offensive touchdowns in a player's.
I keep forgetting about that 1 receiving
seasons.
touchdown.
I always forget about it when you do the math and you go 206, 60 and 45 is not 206. Since 2020, Josh Allen is now 19-3 in games that take place in week 11 or later.
That's clutch.
Second best in the NFL in that time frame. He has recorded a touchdown pass in 19 consecutive games, establishing a new franchise record. Shockingly, Jim Kelly held that previous record at 18 games between the 86 and 87 seasons. Since 2020, Josh Allen has tallied a 9-1 record, including the playoffs, 281.5 pass yards per game, and a 31-5 touchdown to interception ratio against top 5 pass defenses in the National Football League. Now, to qualify, those teams entered that game week ranked in the top 5 of pass defenses in the league. So again, when Josh Allen faces an elite pass defense, Josh Allen cooks.
He does, and that's the kind of production you need out of him every single week. And he's not been living up to that in recent weeks, but this could have been the Kickstarter he needed if he truly feels like he's effing back. I have to monitor what I say because I do have a guest in studio right now, but that's under the age of 10. But yeah, you'll say hi, Emma. Come over here. You want to get on Trust the Podcast? Just say hello.
Hello.
All right, goodbye now.
Podcast.
Bye.
All right, go back to Roblox, honey. But yes, if he's back, like he says he is, then that bodes very well. Those stats bode very well, especially going into these next few weeks, where arguably this is the toughest test they'll face until they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, this is again. I wanted to find out what is the damn thing here. I'm gonna have to keep looking here. Because again, I feel like a lot of Josh Allen's interceptions are not bad interceptions. You're just like, meh, whatever. That was stupid, but what are you going to do? Khalil Shakir, wide receiver, 3 receptions on 4 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. It was his first career 100-plus yard game and 3rd career touchdown. And in the nobody cares woe was me moment, John, I was playing my father this week in the Wolfensteiner Football League, which I have had a great team. I have now since collapsed epically. Down to, I believe, 6-5, despite having an incredible team and outscoring everybody by at least, I think, 150 points the entire league.
Are you the guy in the fantasy league this year? Because this used to be me when I played fantasy, except not for when I played for.
I drafted a great team. Great team. I was projected to go, I think, like 12-2 or 13-2. And I just had ineffectiveness. I mean, I went out traded for like Jalen Hurts and stuff, and you just have guys who are ineffective. I text you in the Gear Network chat. Take a guess when I picked up Derrick Henry the week before he went on this stretch where he's had 10 combined points in 2 games. But the first time, does your team score more than every other team except the one that you lose to? Usually, yeah. I hate that. Yep. It was my biggest fantasy football angst was if I played 8 other teams, I would have whooped them. This is actually really funny. When I was at the pizza wife's parents' house, watching the Bills game. Allen to Shakir. Shakir breaks it for the 80 or 81 yard touchdown, whatever. I think it was 81. And I let out they were excited. I let out a son of a bitch and everybody looked at me and they're like, what? I said, I'm playing him in fantasy. The first time this happens, the only time this happens is when I'm playing him in fantasy. It could be. See, that's why I had to quit fantasy, man. I had to stop playing fantasy football. Like it was fun, but when it started getting to the point where I was rooting against the home team, that's where I kind of drew the line. And if I didn't care so much about either the Jets or my Trust the Podcast team here, the Bills, I probably wouldn't care and I'd probably play. But because I do, I can't play I can't play the game and watch the game as a fan. It just doesn't work well for me. So but that's funny though. It's always funny to hear stories like that from others because I was once others and now I'm not. I mean, it's for reasons like that. Yeah, don't get it twisted. I'm not upset that he scored a touchdown. I'm just like, man, what are the odds that I'm the one that's going to get screwed on this one, and it was me. That was the one. It is what it is. I lost anyways. I got my ass completely kicked. But again, you move on. You move forward, and you look, I guess, down the road from there. Because again, 8-team league, not hard to make the playoffs. Just got to make the playoffs. And all of my teams, all of the players I have on my team are all green coming up in terms of matchups. So,
okay,
we'll see what happens. Although Cooper Kupp, he needs to his ankles replaced or something. But anyways, tight end Dalton Kincaid, 6 receptions on 7 targets for 46 yards. Looks good again on Sunday with 6 receptions in this game. John Kincaid improved his season total to 51, moving him into 3rd place on Buffalo's all-time rookie reception list. Kincaid trails only Joe Cribbs, who had 52 in 1980, and Sammy Watkins in 2014. My cat actually named after Sammy Watkins. Her name is Sammy because the day that Sammy Watkins was traded to the Los Angeles Rams was the day we got her, which is how I always remember that.
There we go. It's always fun to see those names during the drought era pop up. As I remember, everybody excited over Sammy Watkins, and I don't think he really produced a whole lot in Buffalo during his time here. That's probably why he was traded. But in the same, I just remember, I remember an era where Watkins was here, Marshawn Lynch was here. You got Terrell Owens stopped by for a cup of coffee. Those were very interesting times.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it here, and it's just fun to run down the list of names. I mean, we're going to have to do it at some point in time here.
End of the season podcast.
Yeah, we just look back and go, you know what? Wow. Just there are even the not even like the old Bills. I'm talking the Bills since maybe the Music City Miracle since I started watching the Bills. There are some names on that list, but a name on the current list, John, James Cook, running back, 17 carries for 73 yards, 3 receptions on 4 targets for 29 yards and a touchdown. Getting the run game involved as well as getting the run game involved in the passing game was a big point. A small, nice little change on Sunday. Crazy stat here. James Cook, 4th in the NFL with 688 rushing yards, trailing only Christian McCaffrey, 825 rushing yards. And then he's close. Raheem Mostert, 691. And then DeAndre Swift in, Philadelphia, 690 rushing yards. For some reason, I looked at 690. That number looked weird. So he is a handful of rushing yards away from being in 2nd in the league in rushing yards. So again,
that's insane to me.
A breakout season for James Cook here.
Not also, so much for his brother.
No, that was a move for him. But then again, a lot of people who joined the Jets, it was a bad move for them this year. Because,
it was funny. It's funny going back into my Jets soapbox here on this Bills podcast. I laughed at Pat McAfee yesterday on the Pat McAfee show because he was like, we were all in on the New York Jets in the beginning of the season, and Jets fans were like, no, we probably shouldn't. Yeah, probably shouldn't do that. And we're like, why, bro? You got Rodgers, you got this, you got this, you got this. It's all in. And the Jets fans are like, nah, probably not the best idea. Something's gonna happen at some point. And then 4 plays in, and then it just progressively gets worse. And he was calling it out. He was just like, I don't understand this team at all. I don't understand why they had Zach Wilson in for so long. I don't understand why they didn't bolster the offensive line. I don't understand this group at all.
I'm just going to say
it's hilarious.
I'm just going to say this really quick. I don't know that Robert Saleh had any choice in Zach Wilson starting at quarterback. I think that call came from someone a little more powerful, a little more higher up, because nothing else, John, nothing else as an outsider looking in would make sense to me, simply because if Robert Saleh doesn't make the playoffs this year, I mean, there's a good chance they fire him.
Yep.
And there's a good chance that is the wrong move. But
I'm not. I like Robert Saleh's message. I don't know. The defense has obviously improved, but the offense has gone absolutely nowhere since even before Adam. Yes, it's the Todd Bowles era. It's done nothing. It's gone nowhere. It's been stagnant. So I don't know that Saleh's fully to blame here, but in the same, I think to your point there, you're right. I think the Zach Wilson thing came from Joe Douglas because that was a Joe Douglas pick. That was his first quarterback he picked. So he didn't want to fall on his face there. But, we kind of tanked away getting Trevor Lawrence that year when we decided to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
yeah, I mean,
and
looking
now
at it,
look at
I
it.
think it ultimately is all about trust. Do you
Mhm.
trust that Robert Saleh can continue to have his defense play effective? Which I think yes. I mean, it's very much like Sean McDermott in Buffalo. You go, okay, can you continue to run it back and be as good as you are? And
Mhm.
the answer has continually been yes. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we talked about coming into this season. If they are as good as they have been, the Bills will be fine. Obviously,
But in
as
a
we've
win-
seen now between injuries and ineffectiveness hasn't been the case, but
Right. And in a win now league, you
it's
only get
very
so
much
many
of
of
what
those
have you done for me
chances.
lately. Yeah.
Exactly. It's you got to have those. You got to have at least one season above 500, whether or not you make the playoffs. At least have one season above 500. And I don't think Salah has had any more than 5 wins in a season.
Well, and here's
I know
the thing
this is
too.
his third one, but
This
still.
is the same with Salah is the same with McDermott. If you're going to fire somebody, you have to do it in January,
Yes.
February.
Yes.
You can't go into a season thinking if this starts out bad, we're going to fire the coach in October, November,
Yeah.
because then you're essentially throwing away your season because
Yes.
it just because there are not that many football games, the amount of time it takes to install, the amount of time it takes to get people up to speed, making sure you have the right guys in the right spot in the right system,
Mhm.
it ain't worth it. If you're thinking about moving forward, move forward. But
Right.
speaking of, I was just thinking about where I was on the podcast here.
Time of possession.
A guy
Basically.
who had a breakout game on Sunday who may have potentially saved his job with Leonard Fournette on the practice squad. Don't know when Fournette's going to come up, if he's ever going to be activated here. But Ty Johnson had 3 carries for 22 yards, 3 receptions for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. It's his first touchdown as a Bill, first since November 27th, 2022, when Johnson faced Chicago as a member of the Jets. Also putting a bow on a pace of play here. As a team, Buffalo ran the ball 38 times. 2 of those rushes were kneel downs, had 130 total yards, 3.4 yards per carry. Not super sexy, but here's the thing. They ran 71 total plays to the Jets 55. They controlled the time of possession, 36 minutes and 51 seconds to 23 minutes and 9 seconds. And if we're going to beat teams like the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Cowboys, those are the kinds of things that you need to do.
I mean, keeping the ball almost 14 more minutes than the other team is essentially suffocating them.
Yeah.
And that's what the Buffalo Bills did very, very well this week against the Jets. That time of possession stat right there that's a big one. And to your point as well, to be able to do that against the teams like the Eagles, the Cowboys, that are loaded on all sides of the football there. That's going to be the key there, because I don't know that as we move along, and I know we got to break down the defense still, but as we start to discuss next week's game, I don't know how much I trust the Bills defense against the Eagles offense, but we'll get
real quick too. Gabe Davis had another game with let me just get the thing here. I want to get the quote here from Joe Brady regarding Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, second time in last 3 games he's been held without a catch, but Joe Brady had praise for Gabe Davis. He said, quote, "You don't just show up on Sunday and have success." Gabe Davis had 0 catches in the game, but in my mind, he was the player of the game. He talked about how Davis was his blocking, his just being there, being available, being ready to go. All the stuff that he did without catching a ball apparently made him a very valuable part of the offense. I mean, I still am worried that the Buffalo Bills are going to pay him too much money to stay.
Probably not.
I would really hope not. I really would hope not, but this is a contract year for Gabe Davis. And if not him, who's it going to be opposite of Stephon Diggs?
Right. It may still be him, but it's probably not going to be for the money Gabe Davis, would want or feels he would deserve, But in the same, that just plays that just feeds the narrative of every position being an important part of the overall team. Not necessarily having to have catches, touchdowns, or whatever, but the presence on the field, your wherewithal, blocking, and making, helping create opportunities for your teammates. That a lot of times that's actually great feedback to tell on a podcast, because we talk about stats all the time, but we never talk about like the little things like that actually matter. You can't have the time of possession like that, or you can't have the stats that you have as a team without those important pieces, in there, helping with the protecting and the blocking and things like that. So that's actually really cool to hear.
Absolutely. I'm sure it'll put some air in his tires too and kind of get some wind in his sails, if you will. I know I'm just clichéing it up here, but kicker Tyler Bass, 4 for 4 on field goals, 48, 30, 33, and 50-yard field goals, 2 for 3 on extra points. The one thing, John, before we move over to the defense, it's a thing called turnover-worthy play percentage. In 2023, despite the fact that Josh Allen has a ton of turnovers, he is coming into this week second best in the league behind Joe Burrow. Josh Allen has a 2.4% turnover-worthy play percentage in 2023. Just some names above him: Lamar Jackson at 3.0%, Jalen Hurts 3.2%, Patrick Mahomes 3.3%, Justin Herbert 3.3%. It's a Pro Football Focus stat. We've talked about PFF here before, but it is, quote, a critical a stat to consider when evaluating quarterback play, as it is all-encompassing look at the passer's ability to take care of the football. So, as Dan Orlovsky pointed out in the tweet that Michael F. Florio commented on, since week 1, Josh Allen has had 3 bad decisions / inexcusable interceptions. As always, context matters. With Josh Allen, we don't ever get the context. We're always just getting, well, he turns the ball over a lot. Okay, yeah, but the turnover-worthy play, very, very low. Now, talking about the defense here, cornerback Rasul Douglas, a Brandon Beane find, hit the jackpot at the trade deadline. Douglas had 4 tackles, 2 solo, 3 pass deflections, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery. It's his second career multi-interception game. He had 2 picks versus Cleveland on December 25th, 2021 as a member of the Packers. He became the first Bill since 1998 to tally 2 picks and a fumble recovery in the same game. Kurt Schultz did this last on September 28th, 1998 versus the St. Louis Rams.
I remember Kurt Schultz.
And also, Douglas has absolutely hit the ground running in Buffalo since being acquired at the trade deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him stick around for a little while longer after the season, just because he has stepped in as CB1 and done an incredible job, as mentioned.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things where next man up, we talked about weeks and weeks ago when we were talking about the defensive woes and the injury bug and how badly it hit Buffalo. Next man up, and he's stepped in and he's doing the thing and keeping them in games. So
with the slight hesitation, I was waiting for you to say that's a true story, because I would have lost it.
No, I thought about it, but no, the actual analysis came afterwards. So, but yeah, I mean, either way though, whether or not it's a true story, it is. But regardless, next person up. And he's living that, and the Bills are playing fluidly, or at least played fluidly this game because of it. So to see that, it always builds that momentum going into the next game and the next game after that, as they're continuing to be tested. But this team is doing what they're doing to stay afloat on the defense, like everybody thought. I know I was one of those folks that thought once all those defensive players are going out, that was the weak spot of the team. And it turns out it may not be the weakest spot in the team. And play like that certainly helps.
There was a sack party on Sunday, man. Buffalo recorded 6 sacks, 5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, don't remind
5 pass deflections and 8 quarterback hits on Sunday afternoon. Leonard Floyd had 2.5 sacks.
Well, when you have nobody up there defending him, I mean, it's easy.
Correct. If the Bills had recorded no sacks on Sunday against that offensive line, that would be a point of conversation, because again, ultimately,
an absolute point of conversation. It'd be a very different story. It'd be like, well, yeah, the Jets. Then it really could have been narrowed down to just Zach Wilson's play. You know what I mean?
I mean, right now the Bills have had a penchant for playing down to their opponents. On Sunday, they played up to their opponent. I mean, again, Leonard Floyd 2.5 sacks, Tyrel Dodson had a sack, Terrell Bernard had a half a sack. Ed Oliver had a sack. Shaq Lawson also had a sack. Dodson also recorded, that was his first sack of the year, and he also recorded his first forced fumble of the season on Sunday. Oliver's sack on Sunday sets a new career high of 6 sacks, surpassing a career high of 5 in 2019. Leonard Floyd's 2.5 sacks marked the most he's had in a game in Buffalo and the second most in a single game in his career. He had 3 sacks as a member of the Rams against the Seattle Seahawks on November 15th, 2020. Floyd also became the first Buffalo defender with multiple sacks in both games of a season series versus the Jets. First to do it since Bruce Smith accomplished this feat in 1990. Unbelievable stat right there. Floyd's 9.5 sacks this season are most by a Buffalo defender since 2017. Defensive tackle Jordan Phillips also had 9.5 sacks in 2019. Buffalo
when I see you wrote Seattle up there, Floyd having 3 sacks as a member of the Rams versus Seattle on November 15, 2020. And for some reason that triggered this thought here. On Madden NFL 24, I decided to relocate the Seattle Seahawks to Tokyo, Japan.
Love it.
Why? I don't know. I didn't realize they put Tokyo, Japan in the game as a place for relocation, but I'm thinking, why not?
I've got a couple leads on why you did it, but those we will discuss off the air.
Perfect. Yes, but they are now in Madden 24 world, the Tokyo Dragons.
I love it.
That's the name that they gave them. I don't know. I'm going to wait for 3 more seasons though, so I can relocate them to San Diego from Tokyo.
That's a roundabout way of doing it, but I love it.
Yes, indeed. They'll be the San Diego Dragons.
Buffalo allowed only 155 yards of total offense. Their fewest since allowing 53 versus the Jets on January 9th, 2022. Buffalo did not allow a third down conversion, holding the Jets to 0 for 11. It's the first time since
That's ridiculous.
The first time since 1987, John, that Buffalo prevented an opponent from tallying a successful third down conversion when they held the Indianapolis Colts to 0 for 10 on December 13th, 1987.
If you're going to go down in a blaze of glory. Set records. You know what I mean? Set records on your way down. Why not?
I think that was my dad's 21st birthday.
Was it?
1987, yeah, because he was born in December 13th, 1966. So, yeah, the last time the Buffalo Bills prevented a team from having a third down conversion was my father's 21st birthday. And
incidentally,
year,
I had just turned 7 that year.
Let's see. He's going to be
December 5th.
57 this year.
57.
57.
Look at you, Randy.
Randy.
Give him a good shout out there.
That old
Papa Wolfe.
That old goddamn bastard. Anyways, cornerback, if he hears that, he'll beat my ass at Thanksgiving. It's all good. Cornerback Dane Jackson, cornerback Teron Johnson left the game with a head injury, did not return. No update at this time. The defense was falling, dropping like flies. That's been the MO of the defense this season. Also a little more serious. Safety Taylor Rapp left the game in an ambulance with a neck injury. Confirmed post game. He was not taken to the hospital, instead sent home. No update there. I hate to be so insensitive here, John, but I am surprised. Watching Taylor Rapp play football, I am surprised it took this long for him to get hurt, because he plays. I know you being Puerto Rican, John, don't find NASCAR very interesting. You find it kind of dumb. But I know, not even being Puerto Rican, just being a human being, most people think NASCAR is dumb. But you've seen a big nasty car crash at like Daytona where it takes out like 20 cars at 200 miles an hour.
Have. Absolutely.
That is how Taylor Rapp plays football. It's
crazy. It's a tough way to play.
He throws caution to the wind and is just like, bro, I am going to try to destroy you without realizing that he himself is destroying himself.
Right.
So hopefully he soon.
Hopefully. I thought I read something that he might be okay to play the Eagles game, but I'm not sure.
I mean, it's pretty wild when a guy does a stretcher job in a football game and then comes back the next week. So we'll see.
Right. It could have been somewhere. It could have been on X. It could have been an X article that was forwarded to me, and no one reads that anymore. So,
I mean, it is the platform for Nazis. So,
yeah, it's something.
We're going to take a quick commercial break here.
What a way to end the first half with Nazi talk there.
Yeah. We'll be back right here after this quick break if we don't get canceled with more Trust the Podcast here on the Gear Radio Network. And we're back here on Trust the Podcast. Thankfully, not been canceled yet, but it's good when you have the owner of the network on your podcast.
I was going to say, I talked to the owner of your network. I think he was okay with it. He just basically shut the door and said F off. But
yeah, I think you have the sound on your soundboard. What he said when you asked him. I'm glad you picked up what I was putting down.
Very good.
John, we're wrapping up week 11 around the NFL, brought to you by Go Frost Yourself. My man, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Here we go. Go Frost Yourself, located in Rochester, New York. Go Frost Yourself does what other local bakeries do not. They bake from scratch, creating recipes themselves and using the best fresh ingredients they can find to create delicious flavors for customers daily. Molly and Jen. Hello, Molly. Hello, Jen. Have worked tirelessly to create what Go Frost Yourself has become today, and their passion can be tasted in the items that they bake. When you find yourself looking for an item or for a special occasion, or maybe you just want to try their incredible cinnamon rolls, if you are local, you can visit Go Frost Yourself storefront at 2544 Ridgeway Avenue or gofrostyourself.com.
I see you got the music fixed, but also great news too. My wife ordered some pies from Go Frost Yourself for Thanksgiving, so I'll make sure to report back on that one because I am pretty goddamn excited.
I'll tell you what, your wife ordering from there? Oh, damn it. Hang on.
Dog.
There you go.
Dog.
Good job there, Pizza Queen.
Yeah, she is the best. Injuries strike again, John. Thursday Night Football took two great football players off the field for the remainder of the season. Yeah. Baltimore tight end Mark Andrews reportedly suffered a cracked fibula and an ankle ligament injury on a drop hip tackle is what it's being called. A tackle in which they're trying to ban from the game, make it illegal because it is essentially almost guaranteed 10 times out of 10 to injure the person you are tackling. Now, Baltimore's head coach, John Harbaugh, did come out and say that they had some positivity in the MRI and the injury may not be as bad as it originally seemed. Looked pretty freaking bad when it happened, but we'll keep you posted on that one. Another injury that looked really bad. Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow suffered a torn ligament in his right throwing wrist. This will be the end of the season for Joe Burrow. But the controversy here, John, is that Burrow was spotted wearing a compression sleeve-like brace this week, but was not on Cincinnati's injury report, which we know the NFL takes very seriously.
Yep, you can't be doing that. You can't be doing that, teams, football teams. You got to be better. And, player safety being a big thing, especially, that's a very, very dumb move by the Cincinnati brass there.
Well, I know you say player safety being paramount there. I think it's gambling that is paramount because obviously the NFL does not want teams to be affecting the outcome of betting, which then makes the NFL look bad and can piss a lot of people off. But yes, they care about
as they accept sponsorship money from DraftKings and FanDuel and all them. But yeah,
what about the old days when? What about the old days when like boner pills were always? Now it's all gambling and stuff. We were once, John. We were once a solid, good country, and now look at what happened.
I got nothing for that. As I'm hitting the point in my life where I may need the boner pills now.
It's all good, man. There is no shame in your game, man.
God damn, I'm getting old.
Comeback kids. Everybody loves a comeback story in America, as Andy Dwyer once said. Detroit overcomes quarterback Jared Goff's season high 3 picks and a late 12-point deficit to move to 8-2 on the season. John, they are 8-2 for the first time in the Super Bowl era. Last happened in 1962.
Could you imagine Detroit making the Super Bowl? And could you imagine if it ended up being against like the Cleveland Browns, who are shockingly like 8-2 themselves?
This team has got something going for it, and it is unbelievable how they are all buying in and they all fit that system. So, like, when you play Madden and it's like, oh, obviously, you and the Tokyo Dragons. You get a guy who's a scheme fit. I feel like everybody on that team is a scheme fit. Like everybody fits what message they're trying to get across, what type of football they're trying to play. John, they trailed 26-14 with 4 minutes and 15 seconds left in the game. They scored a touchdown and a 6-play, 75-yard drive that lasted 1 minute, 16 seconds. They then forced Chicago to a 3-and-out in 26 seconds. Scored a touchdown on their next drive, an 11-play, 73-yard drive lasting 2 minutes and 4 seconds, which that is incredible. On the next drive, Chicago was strip-sacked, which was led to a safety. Aiden Hutchinson almost ran it in for the touchdown, but the offensive lineman wisely kicked it out at the back of the end zone. Detroit then received the ball back with a safety kickoff and knelt the ball for the win. So, John, 26-14 with 4:15 left in the game, Detroit was trailing. With 22 seconds left in the game, they led 31-26.
Unbelievable.
It's the Chicago Bears.
Right.
But holy shit, that's impressive.
It's the Chicago Bears, but in the same, they're a professional football team full of adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like, it's just the Chicago Bears in the same way where it's like, oh, well, it's just the New York Jets. Like, these are actual professional football players on a professional football franchise. Like, it doesn't matter how poor they are to be able to do something like that to them is impressive.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like they're playing like the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL. You know what I mean? Like that, you could probably expect them to do. I wouldn't expect them to be losing to the Birmingham Stallions at all. But
how many points would the
same,
Detroit Lions play or score if they played a Pee Wee team?
probably 70.
I would hope 69.
There we go. That works too.
Speaking of impressive, Detroit defensive tackle Aiden Hutchinson, 6 tackles, 2 solo,
Could you
1
imagine
sack.
a big old offensive lineman just picking up that little kid in the peewee and just running with him?
Tossing them. 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit. Hutchinson became the first NFL player in history with 15 sacks and 4 interceptions combined in their first 2 seasons. Looks like Detroit nailed that pick.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Seem to be doing everything right.
Yeah, speaking of nailing a pick, man, assaulting the record books despite throwing a season-high 3 interceptions, Houston quarterback C.J. Stroud continued his impressive rookie season. He finished Sunday going 27 for 37 for 336 yards, 2 touches, and the aforementioned 3 picks in a 21-16 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Stroud's 2,962 passing yards are the 4th most ever in a player's first 10 games. He joined Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow as the only rookies in NFL history with 300 or more passing yards in 3 consecutive games. Houston at 6-4 now has doubled their win total from last season and have now won 3 games in a row for the first time since 2018 when they won 9 straight games, which I don't ever remember that happening, probably because Houston normally is dog water.
I remember when Houston won 9 games in a row. I think that was during the Deshaun Watson era. I remember
sexual assaulter Deshaun Watson.
Yep. Certainly, indeed. But I remember that. But don't look now, folks. The Houston Texans, they have them their quarterback now.
Hey,
I kind of am on the train though with like JJ Watt, where I'd like to see. It'd really be nice if like how the Charlotte Bobcats made a deal with the New Orleans Pelicans to take over the Hornets name. I really wish like the Titans and the Texans could come to some sort of consensus, some sort of deal to just return the Oilers name back to Houston, because it'd be great.
I know you've mentioned that before, and I agree with that. But the one way I thought you were going with this, the direction here is that if you watch the Pat McAfee show when JJ Watt is on every single week, they are actively campaigning for JJ Watt to unretire and go sign with the Houston Texans this season. Because again, that would be incredible first off, but they were talking about like you'd be the first guy in the history of the game to have your name in the Ring of Honor while actively playing on the field. I mean, it would be hilarious. I don't think it's going to happen, but JJ Watt's still in great shape. I just had to mention that.
He's still in great shape. I think the reason was health was why he elected to retire. He was getting his
family.
He was getting hurt quite often, but then I think it was the what was it? The cancer scare. Didn't he have a cancer scare?
He had his heart.
That's it. That's what it was. So I think that all kind of, I'm glad he's in great shape and I'm glad he's providing analysis, but I'd rather not see him on the field, to be honest, as just the human side of me.
It would be fun though, but that should not and probably won't happen. Looking ahead, John, if the season ended today, the Buffalo Bills would be the 8th seed officially in the hunt. Per the New York Times, their playoff predictor, the Buffalo Bills have a 24% chance of making the playoffs without anything else happening. Right now, if the season ended today, which obviously it does not, Baltimore would be the 1 seed. Pittsburgh would travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Pittsburgh, who just fired their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada.
Right. Yeah.
Because that offense is awful. And if Pittsburgh didn't have a good defense, they probably would be in the bottom.
They are the ugliest 7 or 8 win team now in the league. That's where me as a Jets fan looks and I'm like, what the hell, dude? We can't even get that,
Yeah, I mean, again, Mike Tomlin builds Pittsburgh defenses for sure, but
yes, he does.
That offense is god awful. But anyways, they're right now, doesn't matter. They're in the playoffs. They would face the Chiefs in Kansas City. Houston would travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, and the Miami Dolphins would play host to the Cleveland Browns and Dorian Robinson Thompson, or I can't remember. DRT. I love the nickname. Yeah. I just love, they say DRT, and I'm like, that's a great nickname, but it's his name. So,
Very good.
I was thinking about that in my head as I'm talking here. Sorry. The NFC, Philadelphia, shockingly, would be the 1 seed. Minnesota would play in Detroit. That would be a great game
That'd
to
be
see with
a great game.
Josh Dobbs at quarterback. That even though the luster kind of wore off a little Monday Night Football with another improbable Denver Broncos comeback from Russell Wilson. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all.
How it happened.
It's happening. He's cooking, and I don't understand it. But apparently, the recipe is a good recipe. Unlimited.
I just leaned back to say that, and the back of my neck cracked. So that's probably a sign that I should not do that anymore.
There you go.
Seattle would head to San Francisco, which actually, funny story, we're going to see San Francisco and Seattle on Thursday Night Football for Thanksgiving, and then Dallas would head to New Orleans. Because even though Dallas is much better than New Orleans wins their division, and therefore they get a home playoff game, which again, still stupid, but I digress. Week 12, the Buffalo Bills at the Philadelphia Eagles, arguably one of the games of the week, 4:25 p.m. on Sunday on CBS. John, I got to say, too, I'm really loving the 4:25 starts for the games, simply because you can.
Yeah, I think it's
you get the house
sweet spot, really.
Well, you get the house cleaned up, you hang out. You get some food, you get some munchies, you get some drinks, whatever. You hang out, you relax. Awesome. Game starts at 4:25. About halftime, 6:30, you start to get ready. Hey, after this, I'm going to go up and shower. I'm going to go get in bed for Sunday Night Football. So what I do is I start to get ready. I after the game's over, I run upstairs, hop in the shower, 7:45, 8 o'clock. I get into bed. I'm not sleeping, but I'm in bed watching Sunday Night Football. A seamless transition. It's amazing.
Well, there you go. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. I actually like the 4:25 games too. I just think it's the perfect sweet spot. That way I can kind of use my Sunday to either be super lazy or just really get shit done. And
I
then,
like that.
The 4:25, like when it starts at like 9:30 and it goes like, it's cool. Like the 1 week, but when you start doing it like 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's like, okay, I got stuff to do. Yeah. And in during the early football season, as a cheer dad that has to go to different competitions in different freaking areas, 30, 45 minutes away from where I live, it's nice to be able to, not necessarily have a 1 o'clock game to come home to. That's the Aaron Rodgers effect, having the effect on the Jets schedule that it did has been great this year. Despite the terrible football play, because I've been able to see all the games because they've been on 4:25 or later or some kind of prime time. But as a Bills fan that has this happen regularly, I would think 4:25, sweet spot. Absolutely.
Well, and the reason for those who love the 1 o'clock games, I get it. You can wake up really early, go get super shitty at the game, climb into the pit if you want to, fall into the pit for the new Bills Stadium. Do whatever you want, but go crazy, folks.
I forgot about that.
But with how many years, John, that we would watch the Bills at 1 o'clock, we being my dad, myself, my brother didn't really give a shit. You have an entire afternoon to be pissed off about the Buffalo Bills,
Yeah. Yep. Well,
whereas if they lose at 4:25, if they lose at 4:25, you're like, shit. Well, anyways, I'm gonna go take a shower and go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and it ain't gonna matter.
Well, keep in mind in that era when you're talking about, your brother was watching 4:25 games all the time because the team he roots for or rooted for, I don't know now, but that was, and now it's your turn, Ryan. You get all the 4:25 games.
Yeah, the 2 words for you: go Bills. Philadelphia 9-1. I swerve on that one. 9-1, first in the NFC East. They're the first seed in the NFC.
Are we signing off now? Like that's a sudden sign off.
No, that was not. No, I just wanted to. I was gonna just gimmick infringement.
All right.
They've scored 273 points. They've allowed 212 points. They've won 4 straight games. ESPN matchup predictor says 54.1% of America believes Buffalo will defeat Philadelphia. I find this hard to believe, but John.
I'm guessing every single one of Bills Mafia voted on that poll.
It's an analytics-based thing, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. I was secretly, well, not so secretly because I'm sick of the Chiefs winning all the time. I was secretly rooting for the Eagles to win last night because in momentum is not a real thing, right? But when you look at things, well, here's the deal. when you look at it, momentum isn't real. When you're in it, momentum is real because you get them good vibes rolling. You're feeling real good about it. It just continues to kind of, those juices are flowing. The vibes are good. Everything's good. Everyone's happy. Awesome. Great. Philadelphia has looked incredibly vulnerable recently. Now, I could be saying this now on the 21st. You could come back next week. What's next Tuesday? Because, again, normally we podcast on Tuesday nights. You could come back here on the 28th and say, Ryan, aren't you fucking stupid? Because, again, if it happens, I'll more than eat the crow. I'll take my medicine, whatever. But Philadelphia, to me, has looked vulnerable. They've looked normal. Much like the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, they looked normal. They looked vulnerable. They looked beatable, right? So with the Eagles being 9-1, they're due for a stinker at some point in time. What better time than right now against the Buffalo, a resurgent, one game, don't get too far ahead of yourself, a resurgent Buffalo Bills offense and defense that feels a bit galvanized, a bit revitalized by the fact that they fired Ken Dorsey and didn't really change much offensively, just a couple tweaks here and there. And that defense just, again, it's not the Bills defense of we're the top 3 defense in the league. It's a different defense, different identity right now because of who's hurt and who's actually out in the field playing and what they're playing as. But they're doing something right now on defense and offense. If they can continue to pick up where they left off on Sunday, could be a long afternoon for the Philadelphia Eagles. So again,
it could be.
My thought, get the run game going. Going to be very tough against that front for the Philadelphia Eagles, but control the time of possession. You have to score touchdowns. You cannot kick field goals.
Right.
Because if you kick field goals, you're going to let them hang around and they will find a way to come back and stomp your ass. They're a very good team for a reason. They're not 9-1 by accident. They didn't make the Super Bowl by accident. They've got a very good offense, a very good defense, a very smart coaching staff. But again, if they win, I'll probably be a little surprised. If they lose, I won't be very surprised. But I'm looking at Sunday's game as an opportunity for the Buffalo Bills to shock the world a little and get themselves back on the track to a playoff spot.
Well, I would, I'm going to say, I don't know. Only because, yes, while the one in the 9-1 for the Philadelphia Eagles came at the behest of the New York Jets, we have to consider what the Jets were, all those weeks ago versus what they are now, right? And Philadelphia, their pattern is as follows. First 5 weeks, Patriots, Vikings, Bucks, Commanders, Rams, win, followed by the loss to the Jets. So in my data and analytics world here, I'm thinking that's the pattern. It's a 5-1 ratio. So now they've had the Dolphins, Commanders, Cowboys, Chiefs win. Buffalo would be that 5th game. Going by that theory, I think Philadelphia loses next week to the 49ers. I think they get by the Bills this week. I don't think it's going to be a runaway game at all. I think it's going to be a very close game. It's that stupid brotherly shove play. I don't think that the Buffalo Bills will be able to stop that in any way because no one has. So
yeah, no one has. But also, I mean, my daughter's yelling at me down the stairs.
I hear you, pizza baby. You're going with the Eagles baby. Too. I take it.
Hey, Punk, can you say "Go Bills"?
There you go. Very good.
She loves her Buffalo Bills. She loves her Buffalo Sabres. I've done a very good job as a parent so far in the first 2 years of her life. But
all right.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just at this point, same as last week. I just hope both teams have fun. I hope we have a good game in store for us on Sunday afternoon. I mean, It's going to be a great week of football overall. On Thursday, we've got Thanksgiving. We've got the John Madden Thanksgiving games where it's going to be the Lions are playing at 12:30, and then you've got the Cowboys playing the Commanders. So the Lions play the Packers. The Lions should roll, and it should be a lot of fun to watch. The Cowboys play the Commanders. The Cowboys should roll. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. And then we've got that, what is it, the tryptophan or whatever, rolling through your blood, and you got them pumpkin pies and apple pies and the people strudel, whatever. I don't know, whatever you guys do. Whatever, that's a callback right there. Whatever you're doing on Thanksgiving night, turkey ain't the only thing getting stuffed on Thanksgiving. Let me tell you what. I'm struggling. The 49ers and the Seahawks play on Thursday night. Now,
yes, the 49ers and the Tokyo Dragons.
The Tokyo Dragons, the Geno Smith and the Tokyo Dragons. Geno Smith may not play. He's got an elbow problem, bruised tricep, whatever. Don't know if he'll play, but either way, that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So again, a lot of big matchups have not lived up to the hype this year. Hoping that one does. But John,
I'm hoping so too.
Good news, one way or the other.
What's that?
We're going to be back here, same time, same place, talking about the same thing, the Buffalo Bills, next week, each and every week.
Absolutely, but and always keep in mind too, and remember,
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Thank you, Boomer.
You got that right. Now, with that being said, I feel like I had something else I had to say. Oh, yes. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody whom celebrates this upcoming week. Enjoy your time with your family, with your loved ones. Enjoy all the food, all the football, the hanging out. If you don't like Thanksgiving, find something that you're thankful for and enjoy that too. But, John, I'm be real cute here. I'm very thankful for you. Always join me on a podcast here.
I'm thankful for you as well.
I appreciate
thankful for lots of things, and good health and a good frame of mind is key in that. I've anybody that's followed me knows that I've kind of gone through a bit of a mind shift the last few years, a bit of a metamorphosis, if you will, a shift in philosophy. It's really worked out very well for me personally. And, I'm just happy that you stuck around and that, all my people that listen has stuck around, my family, my wonderful family. I'm very thankful, man. And
as anyone who's ever met me in my life, it's very hard to get rid of me.
Very good. Very good. Alrighty. But
stick around like
that's my soapbox.
I'm
thankful. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the listeners that continuously give feedback, subscribe, download, all of that. Even just doing that supports Gear Network in a good way. So thank you all, and I hope everybody that's listening here truly enjoys their holiday with their loved ones.
I absolutely agree. I echo that as well. I appreciate, thankful for all the listeners. Healthy family, somewhat healthy family, because my daughter is in daycare, and we all know how that goes if you have kids. We have been sick on and off since the end of September. So it's really just,
I know. I still got to get my damn flu shot. I haven't done that this year yet.
I listened to Dr. Travis Kelce, and I got my flu and my COVID at the same time. It was not bad for me. I can't speak to other people, but
I did that last year. I did that last year, and I did it the last 2 years. And the first year it kind of took me out. The second year I did okay, like the first day. And then the second day I started feeling it. And then the third day I was like, yeah, okay, leave me alone. And then
my wife, who was a medical professional, as we've discussed on one of the podcasts here in the past, said to me, "Did you get them both at the same time?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh." And I said, "Yeah, Travis Kelce. I saw a commercial. He said I could do it, so I did it." And she thought I was serious. And
yeah,
I was.
I mean, I did it. It was fine. I think this year I'm only going to do the flu one just because I want to see what my chances are.
Well, if my Wi-Fi signal did get a lot stronger after I got my COVID booster, so thrilled about that.
Yes, indeed. You got that 5G in you.
Oh man, I'm cooking over here, watching that YouTube TV on my phone while laying on the baby's floor for her to fall to bed. I'm getting so much good signal. But
there you go.
For John Cimino, I am Ryan Wolfe. As always, we are Trust the Podcast.
You're not.
We will catch you same time, same place next week. As always, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. We are thankful. We appreciate you all so much for tuning in, and go Bills.
Oh, bye.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.